So we are located in Bushwick, which is where I just moved. Being a pianist in New York is chaotic. Being kind of frazzled by everything, but then also just accepting things. But maybe that's just me. That's how I am as a pianist here. I was thinking of keeping the piano out here, but I decided the acoustics might be better in the apartment. The biggest difference between Miami and Warsaw for me is I played Ballade 2 in Miami, and that piece is canceled for me. I would say learning Ballade 3 was the most enjoyable part of this whole Chopin process, especially given the timing of Miami being, 10 months earlier than Warsaw, pretty much. It's hard to play the same pieces and to just focus on making them better. What even is better? How do we even determine if it's getting better? If it's technically more secure, maybe musically it's then compromised. But Ballade 3 for me was kind of the refresher that I needed to kind of reinvigorate every other piece that I was playing. Is the piece that represents me as a person. And I kind of just felt really drawn to this music. I'm awake. Just took a little time and caffeine, and now I am attentive. When I unpack my apartment and the kitchen is, functioning, I will just have a lot of tea. Yeah. Pretty much constantly. Just caffeine, just espresso, just a lot of coffee. The thing is, I start my caffeine-free diet about 2 weeks before. So I did this in Miami. How do I get from these chords? How does the melody start? Where does it come from? And I think this is the phrase that I have played probably close to 100,000 times, because each time I try to do it differently, maybe this harmony this time will be more meaningful to me. And that's the privilege of having time to work on these pieces before the competition, is to see how I feel best with this music being played, how I feel most comfortable, and just kind of seeing what happens with these four notes. Actually, there's no better place in the world to be a pianist, I think, because I just feel very inspired just by the life and the kind of energy in the air to just be the best artist and musician I can be. I know it's cheesy, but it's really true. And that's why I can't imagine living anywhere else, It's my last competition. I'm retiring after this. I'm very excited. And I just it's an extraordinary platform. And so I'm just really excited that I get to go there and to play these pieces that I've been working on. And my only goal really, it's not to play as many right notes or as fast, all of this. It's to present myself in a way that I want, the world to see. Because at the end of the day, that's all that competitions really are. It's just a platform, and you never know what's going to happen. Oh, let me just close this. Bye, baby. I'll be back. Okay.
Hello, everyone. I'm William Yang, and I'm currently at the Yale School of Music preparing for the Warsaw Chopin Competition. Yeah, the program is exactly the same. I mean, for me, a lot of the pieces in Miami were, either first time on stage or even first time playing through in general. So, yeah, hopefully this time will be a lot smoother, but we'll see. I know that, people don't like to talk about mechanics so much, and myself, I also don't, because it's kind of, sort of the boring, pedantic part of piano playing. But sort of the reason why we practice, right, is so that we can attain some level of comfort with the music just pianistically. And once you sort of have these mechanics down, at least for me, then I feel much more comfortable to just express myself. So I start off with the second ballade, right? And the second page already is the con fuoco. And the first time you play this section, it always goes less smooth than the time it returns before the coda. And for me, it's like, this is really the section where a lot of things can go wrong already. And just in terms of confidence and everything. But in terms of practicing, I tried hard to juggle the whole repertoire, because one thing that happens is when you just perform on stages, you don't actually know what's going to happen. I've had performances where, for whatever reason, my hands glitched out or whatever in a bar or two, and it never happened in the practicing before, and after that performance, it never happened again. So who knows why it happened that day, but these things can happen to everyone. And, people say, oh, you look so comfortable or so natural on stage. And, for me, that's never the case, really. Especially, at Chopin competition, whether it's Miami or Warsaw, I'm sure it's going to be the same thing. But in terms of performing, they always ask you, well, what do you do when you're nervous? Well, it's easier said than done. But for me, I try to remember that, hopefully I have such a deep connection with the music that even just no matter how nervous I am, and sometimes when you're so nervous, it feels like you're actually looking from a third person view. Sometimes you don't feel so in control, but just trying to remember that the reason why you play the music is it makes you feel a certain type of way, and you want others to experience that too, right? So in terms of my own performing style, some people say that I'm more simple or less, I do less with the music in terms of just trying to dress it up and add maybe extracurricular things to the music. I try to keep things simple. In some way, you can sort of see that maybe technically or just in terms of the sort of furor of the music, it's growing towards the end of the program, obviously culminating with the B minor etude. I've spent maybe the majority of the calendar year of 2025, right, on this repertoire. And I know some people, they say, oh, it's Chopin, I get bored or whatever. For me, that's not true. But at the same time, you want to be fresh, right? Especially because, you play every performance and you want it to be not special. But yeah, you want that sort of fresh feeling for yourself and the audience. So,
My name is Victoria Wong. I competed in the American Chopin National Competition back in January, and I'm just so excited to be back in the stage in Warsaw. I think I've changed a lot actually since American Chopin as a musician, I think, and as a person. And I think I kind of know myself better actually after this amount of time. And I know how to approach things and what anchors me. But I'm trying to practice as much as I can. Nowadays, I think that, of course, there's always going to be a bit of fear and, but fear can translate into excitement. And I'm trying to be more positive. We're in the classroom of Juilliard on the 5th floor. In Miami, I played the double thirds etude as my etude in the first round. But for Warsaw in October this time, I've switched it out for the winter one etude, which is a new piece I started this summer. So I'm quite excited for that. I actually spent a lot of time. It was an unhealthy amount of time that I spent on it, to the point where I was like, I gotta stop practicing this etude because I'm not practicing any of my other 3 hours of rep. I think a big part of this piece is stamina, because it's one of his longer etudes. It's really long and there's almost no break in it. So finding a comfortable fingering was important, and also figuring out what motion or to play it so that you don't really get tired or not too soon. Ballade 4 is one of my favorite Chopin pieces. I think it's just beautiful. I think it has one of the most beautiful moments towards the end before the coda. Sometimes I have to make sure that I'm not too emotionally tied to it, because I think sometimes I get too lost in the moment. Obviously, there's a certain level of refinement that you have to play in a competition. Everything has to be like relatively like, polished and put together. But in terms of artistic identity, I think like whatever I do is because it comes from the heart. And I think it's important that like you play what you genuinely feel.
My name is Antoni Kleczek. I'm 18 years old, and I'm here calling from Vienna, Virginia, preparing for the International Chopin Competition in Warsaw. Miami, I think, just started kind of the path of really diving deep into these pieces and the style of Chopin and making music in general. So my Miami program of the first round, the order was the Ballade, then the Etude, then the Nocturne, and then the Waltz. In Warsaw, I will begin with the Nocturne. Then play the Etude, then Ballade, and then Waltz, which I think makes total sense. I mean, also harmonically wise, I mean, starting in B major with the Nocturne, then G sharp minor, which I think has a nice transition. Which this ends in A flat major. It kind of is like works as a prelude, I think, to and then this is kind of I don't want to say encore because it's not what it's going to be, but it is in a way. Yeah, so this nice Steinway was nice at some level in its existence. However, it is in need of emergency room type renovations or repairs. Basically, it's super out of tune, and some tuners even said they won't tune it because it'll just go out of tune in literally 5 seconds. So many things have happened that it's difficult to pinpoint one thing. I mean, everything, every possible, I think, facet as part of making music and being as a person. I've changed so much, I think, over the last however many months. It has been 9 or 8 or something like this. I love Warsaw. I've every time I'm there, I just I'm so happy just to be there and experience the life of the city. Most excited about just the experience, living that experience. I think is for me the most exciting. I just not thinking about it, just going through it, developing as much as I can throughout the competition. However far I go or whatever happens, it doesn't really matter to me that much as much as just going the first round and playing my best,